You're listening to Out of Doors from BBC Radio Scotland.
For decades now, scientists have been trying to develop a durable system to harness wave and tidal power to create energy around our coast. And durability is kind of key, because there's no point in building something that's going to get washed away. A lot of this research work has been taking place in Orkney, where we've been this week, and we will bring you more news on that in coming weeks.
Yeah, but over in Oban, a smaller scale tidal energy system been put to the test. It could transform the way people in remote coastal communities live. The only problem is that despite having the support of the Scottish Government and others for its development, there's no current financial support for it here to actually operate in Scotland. And so it's going to Canada.
Jason Hayman is Managing Director of Sustainable Marine Energy, and he took Euan aboard his invention.
We're here just off of Connell, to the west of Connell Bridge, at the entrance to Loch Etive, and we're on what's called PLAT-I, which is a tidal energy platform. We've designed it to try and be simple. It's effectively a trimaran, and it's modular. So effectively what it's got is a turret at the front, a main centre hull with all the power conditioning equipment on it, the turbines at the back, much like big outboard drives, if you like, that you lower into the water. You can generate the energy from the flood.
Looks like a bit of an aircraft wing with a big turbine motor on the end of it.
Yeah, well, that's correct. So, of course, the SEMs are designed so that they have minimal impact on the flow going into the turbines.
And we're spinning round at the moment. What's happening? Is that just the tide's changing?
It is, in fact. The tide is changing. So we're about to go onto the flood, where the water is going to be going from the sea up into Loch Etive.
That's quite dramatic, actually. We were just sitting stationary for ages, and then woof, away we go.
Yep, no, and it really is. When the tide changes, it's like a switch coming on.
Now, what's the idea behind this? Because it's a floating one, so it can move. Presumably you can... Is the idea to stick it in remote communities, islands?
Yeah, exactly that. So we try and make it so it's all modular, and that the logistics are simple and easy, and you don't need specialised vessels and heavy equipment to put them together. And so you can go and put it in service remote islands and coastal communities.
So would that replace the diesel turbines that these small communities have at the moment? Because it's hugely expensive bringing the fuel in, and it's not particularly eco-friendly.
Yes, exactly. You're absolutely correct on both points, and that is the aim. Ultimately, hopefully with a combination of this and batteries, you could fully displace the diesel generation. But to start with, at least we can reduce the amount of fuel that they need to burn.
You've just finished testing. How's it gone? Because it's been pretty well publicised, teething problems with some of the projects in the Pentland Firth up in Orkney.
Yeah, and eventually people are getting it right there, but the testing here has gone very well for us. We had some little niggles at the beginning and had to play with some things like our control systems, but by and large it's actually been very successful and very straightforward.
But this wouldn't be designed to be in that hostile environment.
No, so we're sort of, I suppose, we've lowered the bar a little bit for ourselves in that we're really looking to deploy this in sheltered locations where we're not dealing with those kind of wave climates and those kind of access issues.
So the initial days in terms of results, but are you kind of convinced that this is a viable option for an island community? Oh,
absolutely it is, yes. And we see that in pretty short order here we can be absolutely competitive with diesel.
But presumably something needs to change, because you're not profitable at the moment.
No, and this is our first demonstration platform. We're really coming out of the R&D phase, trying to sort of commercialise this, and what we need now is to get several devices out there and get track record and get time on the clock. And to do that, you need projects where you can get paid for the energy that you produce.
That's not unreasonable.
Well, no, it's not. But unfortunately, at the moment in Scotland, there isn't that policy support doesn't exist. And that's not Scotland's fault. That's a Westminster issue because, well, they control energy policy.
So your energy is more expensive to produce than perhaps a wind turbine or a diesel generator?
We would be pretty similar to a small wind turbine or a small diesel generator, but unfortunately, we don't have any way of accessing any kind of tariff like they do.
So what would have to change then?
For this particular homegrown technology, what we need is something where we get paid for success and we get paid when we actually generate energy. So we're not looking for more handouts and grants. We're looking for a reasonable tariff for this type of technology. And so what we're proposing is a tax incentive-based system that doesn't go on consumer bills, where if somebody buys energy at that tariff, then they can claim some tax relief for it.
So a local authority or a school or a local garage would get tax relief.
Absolutely, yeah, and it could be an aquaculture operation, it could be a mine, it could be a school, hospital, anything, you know, and they'd be able to claim tax relief on what they've paid for the electricity.
But would it have to be a huge tax incentive, or you can see it on the horizon to this being viable?
We don't think it would have to be too huge, especially we're not talking about the sort of vast sums that are involved with things like supporting nuclear or supporting offshore wind. We think our asks are fairly modest.
This is going to Canada.
Yes, it is, because we don't have any way of carrying on with any form of project that leads to a commercial future in Scotland right now. In Canada, they do have policies that support this, and we can get paid for the electricity that we generate there.
What's the mood music then for your speaking to politicians? Are they receptive to the idea? I mean, they've obviously got lots of other things to think about.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they're very receptive to the idea. I'm not sure it's very high up the priority list at the moment, but we are having a productive dialogue with BEIS, and they've just commissioned a report which was done by the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult, which actually does indicate that we do meet their criteria and we can play a role in this industrial strategy that the government's currently developing. And in doing so, we can actually provide benefit to communities and areas, particularly around our coasts, where other parts of the industrial strategy aren't necessarily going to reach.
Do you think it's going to happen? It seems a delightfully simple, elegant solution to providing power.
Oh, absolutely. And, and this is something which is a homegrown technology using a homegrown resource, which is very reliable and predictable. I mean, you can predict out 20 years what the tide is going to be doing and know exactly how much energy you're going to get. So we certainly do hope that it gets adopted.
Jason Hayman there on the PLAT-I tidal energy platform. You are not listening to a wave machine at the moment. You're listening to the chap delivering the newspapers in the morning. Thank you very much.